Hello, everyone. Welcome to Arts for the Health of It. I'm Richard Wilmore.
And I'm Catherine Pardesini.
And we're here on this Monday afternoon if you're watching us live on Facebook or YouTube. So you should join us on all of those things and watch us live because you can interact and talk to us and our guest. But before we bring Clinton out, I just wanted to say, Catherine, do you want to do something fun with me?
Sure.
I love that I get to do this and then not tell the other host what I'm doing.
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't like being surprised, but I like surprising other people. So
that's convenient for you, Richard.
It is very convenient, but you could do it too. I just think of it and then I do it. But I don't like surprises. So a couple episodes ago, I think it was our third episode of season 2, we had the creator and illustrators of Joy Cards on. And it's a thing you can get on, of course, online. But I thought maybe you and I could start going through these every week and seeing what's on. So they're all just little like health-related ways to like improve your day. And they're all numbered. Each one literally has a custom designed piece of artwork for each card. I know, it's a really pretty packaging. It comes with a little book to explain what every day is, but we're not going to take all that time because, we'd rather talk to Clinton. But so day 1, Catherine, is judgment-free day. And you're supposed to notice how you feel. And this is for everyone listening. Pay attention to your self-talk. Replace judgments or complaints about yourself, your life, or others with a compliment or a kind word. We should have done this right away in the morning, but we're going to start it in the afternoon. And Clinton, who's in the UK, will start it tomorrow when he wakes up because it's late. So you take that, and this is available on their website. We'll put that in the show notes where you can go and actually purchase the Joy Cards. But I think there are like 48 cards, all with different things on them, and they're really fun. So next week could be something, Catherine, where we have to draw something or create something right here. Get ready.
It's better if you just surprise me.
All right, then I will. It is paperback book day this week, Catherine. Did you know that?
I did. Okay, so I'm cheating a little bit.
Okay.
Are we sharing our favorite paperback?
Sure.
Okay. It does come in a paperback, but I have a hardback. This is my son's book, actually, but it's one of my favorites. It's called
It's an elephant.
Yeah, see, you love elephants.
Right.
It's called Waiting is Not Easy. It's by Mo Willems. And it's just, I don't want to spoil it, but it's just a lovely reminder about trusting the process.
Mo Willems, is that a comedian? He's a comedian, right?
I don't know if he's a comedian. He's, his illustrations are comical. But I don't know if he's actually, I know who you're thinking of.
Who am I thinking of?
That's a different Mo, somebody.
No. I know Mo, there's a Mo comedian who has children's books. I don't know, whatever. There's a long break in the middle of this episode, so I'll look it up during that commercial break. Do you want to know my favorite?
Yes, what is yours?
It's this. It's the owner's manual to my new dishwasher that it just got installed a half an hour ago. So that's my new favorite book. It's paperback, and I love it. And it's working right now about 7 feet from me, and it's so quiet. And I'm so excited to see what comes out of it. And
I would like to borrow a copy of that.
Yeah, you can. I'll send it to you when I'm done reading it, cover to cover. All right. Do we want to talk about our guest today, Clinton Kirkpatrick?
Yes, please.
We're very excited that he's here because he's multi-talented and he's doing lots of things in the community. He's singing, he's painting. He's going to teach us. We're going to draw with him today while we chat with him. And he's going to tell us all about it. Should we start?
Let's start.
Okay. Maybe.
Come along with me, and I know you'll see that a song changes everything.
Oh, my head. Hey guys, this is what happens when you're live. This is why sometimes we record things. It's the other one. Wait, okay, there. Hi, Clinton.
Hi.
Maybe I'll edit that out I probably won't. That's too much work to put it when it goes onto a podcast. How are you, sir?
I am very well, thank you. Yes, how are you both?
I have no complaints. Catherine?
No, we're good. Yeah, happy to be here with you.
Yes. All the way, tell everybody where you're from, because it's fun on this podcast. We get to talk to people from all over the world, so I love to find out where people are actually from.
So I am currently in Belfast, Northern Ireland. So I kind of live in the east of the city. So I kind of Ireland, UK, kind of part of the world. So it's 9:30 here with us at night. So I think it's just mid-afternoon with you guys. So yeah, it's nearing bedtime for me.
All right, so we'll make it quick so you can go to bed and be on your way. You just got back from choir practice. How did that come about? When did you decide that you needed to sing?
Yeah, so I've always kind of been quite musical in my life from like a young age. So there was right through school, sort of music and art were the two kind of subjects that I just was most interested in. Then when I got to kind of teenage years, it was the art that kind of took precedence. But later on in life, especially when I moved here to East Belfast, I kind of started to really notice that I was missing music in my life. So I kind of got a piano and started to kind of play a wee bit again, like a smaller digital one. And then I sort of was like, I miss kind of singing. I used to be in choirs years ago. So I sought out a choir in the East. It was relatively new. And I've been in the choir now probably approaching 5 years, if not slightly more. So, yeah.
And is it a community choir? Or is it affiliated with a church, or how did you come about that?
It's a community choir. So there's people, all types of people sort of come along and join in, and then there's like a core. There tends to be a core group of us that kind of like repeatedly just stick with it and turn up, season after season, and then we kind of get people that kind of maybe drift in and out or come back a couple of seasons later. So it's very much like as and when, and but I love it though. It's kind of like one of those. Things get you out of the house usually it's a Tuesday night. It just so happens we have like a performance in 2 weeks' time. So we've extra practices at the moment. But I do love it. It's such like a lovely little community of people. And, the kind of the longer obviously we've been doing it, the stronger the choir has been getting as well. So it's really kind of nice to be a part of.
Awesome. Where is your performance in a couple of weeks? I'm curious, like who you're doing it for and why, and
yeah, there is a festival here in East Belfast that's called the Eastside Arts Festival, and we are kind of like programmed into one of their activities. So there is it's a working men's club, but like sort of everybody goes to it. But like there's another event, so we're kind of forgive me, I forget the name of the musician, but we're kind of like starting the show, and then this other musician will come on after. So we're kind of coming in, we have like a whole set to do, and then it'll sort of be an evening just to stick around and listen to some other music as well.
What does music do for you? I think it kind of does the same for everyone, but I'm always curious, like the reason why people, especially it's one thing to like listen to it, but to actually make music, I think is a whole other level of love for it and another layer of what it can do for you. So I'm curious.
I think for me, it was always something. It's something that's kind of like always been there. So I kind of feel like it's always sort of been a part of me. I interestingly really resonate with like musical notes, or rather than words. So I kind of quite often can get the tunes down straight away and sort of like struggle a wee bit more to kind of like get words into my mind and stuff like that. But certainly for me, it's a way to kind of relax. It's a way to kind of connect with other people, and it's a way to kind of just retain a wee bit of that kind of musical link to my childhood. Because it was a huge, I played the piano, played a few different instruments, played the piano, dabbled in the guitar, another instrument called bassoon, which wasn't terribly great, but at the same time they needed one for the school choir, the school orchestra. But yeah, the piano was kind of where I kind of sat with, and I got up to like grade 5, and then I kind of just lost it over the years. What it's like, you kind of move away from things. So I kind of just wanted it back in my life. So it's nice. It kind of it's something completely for me that's not art related, because my life is so consumed by kind of like the arts. I guess the music is the arts, but it's a different type, which is great.
That's a good segue into what we're going to do with you. Even though he does music to get away from art, but we're going to force him to do art now for the next 25 minutes. But you're going to kind of walk us through something that anybody can do. I am not an artist by any means. Catherine is. And so I would love for you to kind of teach us and the people watching and listening how to tap into their creative side. And I know you're going to be using technology, and I'm going to use a notebook, and I think Catherine's also using a notebook.
Mm-hmm.
The good thing what I find now about kind of like technology, especially like with an iPad, is that you can really quickly erase a mark, and you don't get kind of see it on the page. But I think what we'll do, I was thinking around the idea of drawing. So for me, like drawing is a huge part of my kind of life. I've been drawing now every day for the past 5 years. I think I'm in 2017. So 17 to 19, 20, 21, 22. I'm actually in my 6th year of drawing every day. So I kind of like this extraordinary kind of like amount of drawings there. A lot of digital, a lot of that became digital because I was kind of thinking to myself, I'm not really a digital artist, not kind of like a maker in that way, because I'm very much kind of like physical paintings, you know, charcoal, oil pastels, that sort of stuff. But what the digital allows me to do is to like put this into my bag and go anywhere in the world. And then I find that kind of like space where I can like take the iPad out and just draw anywhere. It was sort of like, you know, it was a great tool, and have like charcoal or different tools that mimic, you know, real tools on it, which were great. So a lot of kind of my drawing practice, I kind of create imaginary sort of fictional situations, but my work is also kind of like rooted in like here and now. It's rooted in my own autobiographical experience. It's rooted in kind of all these different conversations that I have or observations. So why I'm saying that is I'll talk you through like the last couple of drawings that I did before I get into us doing a little bit. So if you can kind of see on my iPad that I've got these sort of like different images up here. I actually today was taking a lot of them off the iPad to free up space. But if I show you, if I go in and kind of like show you some of these, this year I've been focusing on every day my drawings are leading on from the day before. So if you can kind of see this character, he's in this sort of space that I created around like this fire and these kind of flames. And then the next day, the world, you start to kind of see the world. I think I was kind of responding a little bit to, you know, the idea of like the heat that's happening in the world these days. So I was kind of then starting to look at that world slightly bigger. So this character still exists, but he's starting to become smaller. I'm really interested in that James Webb kind of like image, the star image that has come up from the James Webb telescope. So that kind of comes in. So I pick and choose different elements to put in. Then a couple of days ago, the drawing, you know, the character, you kind of see the whole world. So I just every day I've been like leading on. So
it keeps evolving. So that's really interesting. And you're using Procreate?
Procreate, yeah. It's a really great. It's great. I've used it for years now, and it's like a really, really fantastic kind of thing. So I think, you know, maybe. What theme would you like to choose for a drawing workshop?
Can I ask a question about Procreate? Because I have an iPad that I don't know how to use. I'm that person who like, I'm 100 years old, and
you need an iPad manual, Richard.
I do. My new favorite paperback should be the manual for my iPad. But is that something that comes like standard on an iPad, or do you have to buy that, or how does that work?
Yeah, it was sort of an app. I think within the notes section of like the iPad, you can like do little drawings on it. Okay. But the Procreate, you buy the app. I think for me over here it was like $5.99, so probably like $10 or something like that. So it was relatively inexpensive. And then I got like one of the Apple pencils to use, just so you could actually kind of, you know, get the different textures and different marks and different weights with it as well. So yeah, but that was it. It was very much just an app, but there's so many apps now, so many drawing apps that, you know, you can kind of like sift through and see what might suit your needs. I chose Procreate pretty much I wanted a tool set that mimicked a lot of the tools that I use. So whether that was charcoal or drawing or inks or, you know, oil paint or stuff like that. Obviously it's not like painting or drawing, with the actual material, but it certainly does mimic the visual. And that's sort of allowed me to kind of like explore different ways of, working, and whether I might like it or whether I might not. It's kind of made me buy actual real material, like different inks and stuff. And inks are like now a huge part of my kind of collage and drawing practice as well. So it's kind of allowed me to experiment a wee bit more, but all in the palm of my hand and without spending more money.
That's interesting. Okay.
So for anybody kind of like wanting to get into drawing or to think about kind of like having a practice, for me at the moment, I am pretty much drawing all the time as an exercise. So I look at my drawing really as kind of like looking at what I'm interested in. So whether that is kind of like I said before, the conversations I have with the world, things that I read, whether that's kind of like, I'm really kind of interested in kind of like systems like politics, like religion, things that kind of bind communities and kind of infiltrate through them. So I kind of look at all of that. So I pick and choose. So a lot of my work will reference different bits and pieces. And as my kind of like work's developed, it has become this kind of mesh of everything, and I kind of blend it. And sometimes like things that I've done years ago will come back to the forefront of the drawing or the work, years later. It's kind of like really interesting, but I see it all as one thing, if that kind of makes sense. But this year I've decided to kind of like continue every day. My drawing is a sequence. And I wanted to see where the drawing would go by itself or by my thought process. So I think as a way for anybody else kind of like starting drawing, or even, if we start something now, I kind of like, choose something to kind of focus on. So maybe does somebody want to pick a word or pick an object? We'll start with that and I'll talk us through doing something.
Catherine?
Well, not everyone. Most people are probably dealing with heat, like extreme heat. So that's the first thing that popped in my head.
Okay, well then I would say like let's just start with like an outline of an object that you associate with heat, and draw the object that's sort of in your mind. So I'll kind of draw something.
Should we do color yet, or just like drawing the outline?
I think maybe start with an outline. I mean,
Okay.
you can use a colored outline if you want to, but it might be kind of nice. Start with an outline and then start to maybe introduce color in a little bit. So the good thing about the iPad is like you can very quickly color fill and get spaces of color without having to spend loads of time kind of shading in. But and you don't have to make it complicated. So I think like drawing is sort of like it can get as complicated as what you want it to be, but sometimes when you kind of really simplify things down, it just becomes more accessible or easier, and you take the pressure away from yourself. Because people this quite often in the workshops, community art workshops that I run, a lot of people have this kind of like fear around that they can't do something, or that they don't have the ability or whatever. So I'm just like, simplify it down. Everybody has to learn somewhere, everybody has to start somewhere. So purposes of now, think something relating to heat, and I'm going to draw.
So Clinton's using his iPad. Catherine, what are you using?
I'm using a pencil and a sketchbook.
Okay. I'm using colored pencils and a sketchbook. I'm trying to think of what I want.
And of course, as I am doing this, my Apple Pencil has just decided to flatline.
It's ready for bed.
See? Technology is great until it doesn't work.
Exactly. See, the good thing about kind of like working with the digital kind of source, you can just erase things really, really quickly. That's kind of why it allows me to kind of work out my compositions a lot more quickly. So I'll kind of work through, and then I'll take a lot of these drawings that I make and I'll turn those into paintings. So it allows me to kind of work with speed. And I'm somebody who kind of likes to kind of like create a lot or kind of make a lot. So now, has everybody got something on the page?
Yes.
Would we like to do a reveal?
Yes.
So
Mine's very literal. So
yeah, there's
Oh, you both did fire. I, of course, did a coffee mug.
I love it.
Yes.
That's where I get my heat source from, is my little coffee mug.
That's a good one. So, Yeah, the fire, like for me, is like I think sometimes my mind just kind of goes directly to a thought process, and at the minute I'm kind of like looking at that in my work as well, because like just this idea of like drought and the fires that are happening everywhere. I mean, it's quite extraordinary. Like we've just, even in the UK and Ireland over here, we've peaked temperatures that we've never reached before. So it's really fascinating. So that's kind of like, so the fire is kind of very, very poignant, but coffee is also poignant.
Coffee's more fun, Richard.
Well, I thought, of course I went right to flame, but I was like, well, I wanted to like do like, so I thought that would, anyway, keep going. Were you resistant at all to going from physical things used to make art to going to digital? Like, you know how when ebooks first became popular and everyone was like, I need to hold a book, I can't have this digital thing, and now everyone has some sort of electronic way.
Yeah, I definitely was resistant to technology, because in my mind I was like, I am a painter. It's all about that physicality. It's all about the material, and I still really do believe that, But I think my thought process changed a couple of years ago, especially when I started kind of introducing the iPad into the work. I started like thinking to myself, well, actually, we live in a society that is so driven by the digital, that is so, it's just like, technology is part of our like current DNA kind of like throughout the world. So I think it's foolish maybe to kind of not introduce it in different ways into your practice. And you don't have to, but like I think for me, it's like, I just kind of got to that point. I was like, well, I'm an artist, and there's different ways to do things, and I became much more open and receptive to just introducing. And it's, since then, like I've really loved using the iPad, and it's become like a really integral part. And like even with the drawings now, I'm going back to the physical, and I've just last year published my second book of drawings, and I've made those books using all the digital work, because the digital work goes into this kind of space of Facebook or Instagram or online socials or whatever, but it gets lost. I think it kind of gets lost. So I'm kind of bringing that then back to the physical.
I love what you said about being able to explore with more things than you probably would have if you had to go buy everything physically, that you get to kind of play with more.
Exactly. So we kind of have our objects. What I'm going to suggest now is introducing a character into the piece of work. So I kind of populate my work with lots of different objects essentially, but you can kind of think around object in many different ways. But I'm really interested in the human, and I'm really interested in kind of the physical form. So a lot of that kind of, I really take the human, and I kind of it's always recognizable, but I manipulate it quite a lot. I kind of change shapes and see how things might work. So what I'm going to suggest is that you introduce a character of your choice, and just draw a shape somewhere on your page or somewhere on my page, my digital page. And it can be any way. It doesn't have to be. I'm kind of like trying to like loosen up a little bit. So a lot of kind of my early teaching is about like loosening people up and moving away from things having to be so defined. So you can be like a big shape, an outline of a character, whatever you need it to be. That's the second part of the drawing. Okay. I've managed to get a wee bit of charge now on my Apple Pencil, which is great. It can be quick, or it can be as detailed as you need it to be. You're definitely going to be able to see who's the artist on this interview and who is not the artist, but just the host of the program. Well, in some people's eyes, my work is questionable. That's a great question. Of when did you gain the confidence from going from just like, doing it in a notebook where nobody sees it to putting it on display and I guess being proud of what you've done? Yeah, I mean, I kind of I really knew I was an artist from like a young age. In fact, I wrote it in a jotter, an English jotter, whenever I was 10 years old, still in primary school. My teacher posed a question, was sort of like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wrote, I want to be an artist. And my mum actually found the book recently, and she gave it to me, and my teacher had underlined it all in red pen. And he actually wrote the words, "You might want to rethink your career choice." Yeah, so that was kind of like, but that's still like, I come from a very conservative space, and it's still that kind of mindset. It's not valued. I think it's probably the same in many places. But right through school, then I was kind of like, art was just the thing I just really loved. And then I went to university and I studied a painting and drawing degree. I did a wee bit of travel, came back and finished the degree, and really then I just knew that was kind of like what I wanted to be doing. So it was very, very easy for me to step back. I moved home then in 2008 and decided to kind of place some roots in Belfast. And basically it was hit the ground running for me. And I really just have worked since then. And I've sort of looked for shows, and a lot of the work that I first put up is quite questionable, but I also think that, any artist goes through these periods of time of discovery, and you have got to figure out what it is you're interested in and how you want to kind of like present your work to the world and the conversations that you want to have. But when I look right back through my work now, there's always been these core, strands that have ran, through the work, like my interest in the human, my interest in the media, my interest in kind of like how other things affect other people. So that's it. But I've always had the courage to put it out there, because I've always had that drive to figure it out a little bit better. And it's always evolving, and it's always a learning curve. So for me, it's like once I've done one body of work or one sort of set of shows or whatever, I'm ready for the next one. My mind is always kind of like spinning and always kind of like in a creative mode anyway. So I find it easy to kind of like continue on like that. If that's kind of answering your question, but I've always kind of, I kind of feel like it's just like, I feel because I call myself an artist and that I am a maker, what I want to do is present that out in some capacity. However, I will say with that, like there are, certainly through the community work and all of the work I do with other people, it's like I've learned that an artist can be defined in many, many, many different ways. And there is no set way. So I think everybody has just got to find their own individual conversation really around who they want to be and how they want to kind of present themselves. So with my work then, I mean, I live in a very kind of conservative space as well. And it's very difficult for me to get my work kind of maybe as accepted here. But at the same time, I've like really remained quite, the integrity through my work has always kind of remained. I've always made work that I've wanted to make, and I've always made work that kind of like is fundamentally from somewhere in my mind.
True to yourself. Yeah.
True to myself. Yeah. And I love it. And it's like now I'm sort of like the imagery there. I know what I'm kind of doing with the work, and now I'm really starting to get good as with quality of painting as well. And that's the shift at the moment, is I'm starting to really understand the properties of paint, and it's taken a long time, but it's a journey. I think it's just a journey.
We have a listener comment because they're driving, from Sarah, who says, "Hey there, driving so not drawing. Clinton, I work as an artist in residence in a hospital in Gainesville, Florida. I've done a few guest residencies with art. I can't read because I don't have my glasses on. Arts Care in Belfast, and love it there. Nice to see you representing."
Thanks fantastic. Well, thank you very much. I hope you're not texting while driving as well.
I'm sure she pulled over.
Or it was talk to text, yeah.
I guess.
Joking. I think you can even do voice recognition now. But the yes, Arts Care is still like alive and well here, and it's quite a large organization. A few of my friends have kind of done a lot of project work with them. So actually, recently I was delivering a workshop they have a new space that's opened nearby here in East Belfast, and it's really kind of for, I think, I don't want to kind of speak out of turn because I don't know too much, but I think it's more providing now a space where people can come to small groups instead of like working large projects. So yeah, so it's a great organization.
Great. Thank you for watching/listening, Sarah. Are we revealing our
Shall we reveal? And this character? Is the point. you're going to ask me, are you an artist? So.
Oop.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, I love it. It's like a little lizard.
Yes.
Right,
Go on, Richard.
Mine's an elephant trunk drinking the coffee out of the mug.
Is it a metaphor?
It's I just love elephants.
And coffee.
And coffee. I'm just combining everything I love into this random drawing.
Brilliant. Elephants are my favorite animal. Love them. Yeah, so the next part then I would sort of suggest where do you want your drawing to be? So I kind of quite often will have, I'll start with the objects or I'll start with the person, and I often build or construct a world around the person. So I'm kind of, that's maybe the next little part. It doesn't have to be some elaborate scene, it doesn't have to be some detailed kind of like table, some kind of, you know, wherever you want your coffee cup to be. Now is the time to do it. Wherever you want your lizard and your fire to be, put something in. And I would also say as well, like, you don't have to kind of always think about like the entire situation. You can add other objects in. You can add one object like a tree or like a table in the distance or a chair in the distance. You don't have to create the whole entire scene, if that makes sense, because sometimes less is more.
Okay.
And now I'm thinking to myself, what am I going to do?
How often do you teach classes, Clinton?
So I'm a full-time freelance artist. So I work between my studio and between community workshops. I've also been a community artist for 12 years now. So I kind of take work as and when. I have had groups that I've worked with a long time. COVID really, really had a massive impact on kind of work life. And, you know, it was really interesting watching everything that you do for a living just be taken away from you in like a flash. So thankfully, it's building back up now, and I'm busy. So yeah, so I just sort of like, I get calls here and there. I worked recently sort of with Eastside Arts, or there's another organization here called the Strand Art Centre. I work with them quite a lot, and then I took on a project there. I've worked with a theatre company for the last about 8 years called Terra Nova Productions, and I usually go in as like a facilitator with them, and I run workshops and deliver things like that. But I did a bit more of an in-depth period of time there. I did 5 months as a project manager on one of their theatre shows, so I had a couple of days a week doing that. So I kind of take work here and there, and then I've also developed programs and delivered programs over a number of years, and it's been good. So yeah, so at the moment I'm literally just out of that period of time with the theatre, and then I've a couple of little bits of pieces of work at the moment which are coming up with different community groups, so later in August actually, and that gives me a couple of weeks to be back in the studio here, and then I'll get back into that work. Can you tell everybody what a community artist is and what they do? Yeah, so I think it can sort of come in different shapes and sizes, but for me and from my perspective, I think years ago I kind of was really interested in the idea of being a teacher. I was then kind of maybe looking at my friends who were becoming teachers, and I wasn't necessarily as interested in the conversation around schools, because I'm really interested in kind of like one-to-one mentoring or one-to-one kind of like support or guidance. So what I found was that whenever I started to get into the different workshops, my first job in Belfast was as a community arts development officer. So I was straight into kind of like creating these projects and delivering these projects within a wide context within a certain area of Belfast. So it gave me a really lovely introduction. Then over the years, what I've really learned is, so normally as a community artist, you will be hired by an organization to come in and do a body of work for a number of weeks. And usually it would be like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks maximum. So it's always short. It's always to deliver a project with a group, and you get various different types of people and different types of skill level. So I've worked a lot over the years. Just indirectly, it's kind of come my way, but with mental health and physical disability, or different sort of like organizations like that have come into this sort of this one of the spaces that I've worked with. So it's been really fascinating. Like autism, lots of different. I've used my community arts as a huge learning sort of tool maybe as well, just to learn about people and learn about how lots of different people operate. So yeah, so I'm kind of waffling on a bit, but it's I kind of, as a community artist, it kind of comes and goes, and I have worked with all different types of people, all different age groups, right from very, very young right up to very, very old, with kind of like dementia and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm just really interested in so much of it. But I really love working with adults. I really love working with people who are able to have conversations in ways that, where, they get to life and you can kind of learn things about them. I don't know. That's kind of, I love working with like young people as well, but my heart kind of like lies with the older people. So yeah, so it's quite varied. I'm thinking myself, I should also do a bit of this drawing. Have you done your part?
I think it's going to be as good as I can get.
So do you host a lot of podcasts?
We do new interviews every week.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done it a little over a year now. And I mean, it was kind of the same way we started it, because we wanted to, people's stories are so fascinating, and everybody has things that you don't even know, and we get to meet people and learn. It's really why I wanted to start this, was because I wanted to learn from everyone. And some people knew that they were in arts and health when we reach out to ask them to be on, and some had no idea even what it was. So it's kind of a great exchange of really being able to talk about the arts and why we should be doing them, and not necessarily waiting. We work at Hearts Need Art with people in the hospital, but it's really, this is for people who are not in the hospital, who are not sick, who like, what can happen if, like you draw every single day. And there's so much research around that, about how that benefits your health and what it does for you. So kind of not waiting until you're in the hospital to reach out to us, but what can we do today to keep ourselves healthy any way we can?
I think it's such a, I know in Northern Ireland, like touching upon what you're saying there about mental health and well-being, really, like, it's becoming such a prominent conversation in our culture and our society, where everybody is starting, and especially through COVID, and especially kind of through those periods of time where everybody's mental health has been affected in so many other ways, like the power of arts and the power of kind of like how engaging with something, and just even by doing something for a couple of minutes a day, like, has a huge benefit and a huge impact. So I mean, even sort of like the drawing, it doesn't have to be some kind of like, that's why I always tell people, take a step back, just relax around around what it should be, because we all bring to the table this idea that things should be a certain way, or if you can't draw it like some, like Leonardo da Vinci or some kind of like person like that it's not valid in some way. I mean, that's why I kind of like, I do joke sometimes about the way my work appears, and I, because it is quite cartoonish and it is quite free, and it's quite abstract in ways, and there's it's not like defined by some kind of like real technical kind of skill. It's much more of an exploration, so it can be anything. Art can be anything, and especially sitting in those kind of like, if you're in hospital, or if you're in like a waiting room or whatever, you can literally just do something of a small scale in those moments, and it puts your mind somewhere. It stops you thinking about other things. You focus on something else, and then the more you do it, the more your skill increases, the more your confidence increases. I mean, I have worked with people that have come into my groups, who are now my friends, like really good friends of mine in life. I've worked with these people, and like, I've watched them go on this journey and this trajectory, and you just have to do it because you want to do it. You'll never be able to kind of like, if you're not interested fundamentally, then that's okay. You don't have to. But I mean, if there's a slight interest, you just have to do it. And you can be quite surprised at how quickly, you know, things can start to look like something or become what you want it to be, you know?
I mean, or not. I've been here for 5 years and I don't think my art ability has increased at all, but my ability to do it in front of people or for people and not be afraid to show it. Like, not that I'm going to frame what I'm about to show everybody, but I'm still like, and that's the point, is that it's okay that it's not going to be behind a frame at a gallery. It's just, I had fun doing it.
So, right. The self-expression aspect. Mm-hmm.
And anytime I get to talk about coffee and elephants,
it's a good day.
Something else is having a lot of self-expression today is my hair, as I'm sure you can see.
If we could zoom in, but we can't.
It's very funny. So right, are we up to, so we've drawn in our kind of like scenario, if we want to kind of put it that way. What have each of you drawn?
I don't know what's happening, but this is
I would love it.
Oh my gosh.
These are really great. So see how quickly they've become really detailed. And it's like, you know, you can kind of like just step by step kind of like build the drawing. You don't have to kind of approach it kind of like all in one go. And that's exactly how I kind of like approach. So I kept it simple because I did too much talking there. But I've created this kind of like circular kind of space that I've put the fire and the person in. And I've created a horizon line. So I'm intending to kind of like what we'll do. So so my last kind of point then would be to kind of fill it with color or fill it with kind of like things that you kind of like the colors that you want to have in it. And then you can add different textures in. So a lot with any kind of like piece of apparatus that you kind of can make marks with. You can kind of like do little lines or cross hatching. Do some examples. So you can kind of do lines to kind of make kind of like textures. Let me see, like this, you can see. Another technique in drawing is like cross hatching, where you kind of like do these little cross hatches, and you can see, you can start to create like shadow or, different types of space with that. Another way is like stippling. So you can kind of like fill in little textured areas full of like little dots. If you can see that, I'm not sure if you can see it totally clearly on there, but and then the fourth kind of element really of drawing is about shading. So you can kind of lightly shade in or create. So if I was going to finish, I'll work on this quickly and kind of like add some color spaces and then add some texture. So that would be kind of like the way I would say maybe to finish it off, is to kind of like add your color, fill your color. You can fill full space of color if you want to, and then go over the top of that maybe with a darker color. Like, so say you use an orange for a background, you can take then like a dark green or a blue and outline it or add some texture in there. Play with your color. I use color very intuitively, so but you always kind of think like light with dark. So if you've got a light color somewhere, you can use something slightly darker over the top of it and you'll see it. Usually you can't put light over dark unless you're kind of like using, well, certain things like an oil pastel or the pad. So there's different ways, different materials will do different things, I think that's what I'm trying to say. So
we'll take a break and we'll all work more on our drawings, and then when we come back we'll unveil them, and then we'll also tell you how you can connect with Clinton if you would like to. So we'll be right back after this.
Whether you consider yourself a musician or not, music is all around us, and it affects our everyday lives. Whether it's background music influencing our shopping habits in a store, organ music adding the vibe to a baseball game, or a playlist convincing us to keep going on that last mile of a run. I'm Mindy Peterson, host of the podcast Enhance Life with Music, where we take a holistic look at the power of music in our everyday lives through the lens of science and health, sports and entertainment, business, and education. You can find me and Enhance Life with Music at mpetersonmusic.com/podcast or wherever you get your audio. Unleash the power of music.
Medical professionals are burning out at an alarming rate. Burnout can cause health workers to feel hopeless, trapped, helpless, worthless, depressed, sleepless, and tired. By joining the Hearts Need Art Gratitude Grams program, medical staff receive a personalized email and video from a musician, an artist, or writer once a week that includes a message of thanks, an encouraging song, uplifting poem, or a simple art activity. After watching their gratitudegram, participants report feeling more hopeful, empowered, energized, and appreciated. If you are or know a healthcare worker that would like to receive free gratitudegrams, please visit heartsneedart.org.
Oh, we're back. We used to have more commercials. All
we need more time. We need more time.
To be continued. Do we want to see where we're at before we leave today?
Sure.
And the fun thing is that we can continue to do this. I think this is a great activity, one that we might steal for this podcast to do on a rotating, like every week we do something. So,
okay, I'll be ready.
Are we ready? I didn't really add that much, but I
didn't get that far. I didn't get that far. I just started.
Look, now we're all coming up with the excuses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wait, Catherine, where is yours? I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see like your background. Like where's your location?
There's like a brick or stone wall behind it. Like I don't know how that happened, but
okay.
They're inside of some
No
space.
explanation needed.
A cabin or a house somewhere.
That's so cool. Clinton, how can people connect with you if they would like more information on you or all of the things that you're doing?
Yeah, so you can kind of like really link in with my website. I have two different websites. I've got one that's kind of my name, so clintonkirkpatrick.com, which is about to go into a space of kind of like being reevaluated, but it does exist. You can see a lot of the history of my work there. Find out about me as an artist. And then I have a sort of more updated website that I would kind of more use as a commercial platform. So it's called orangepaintbooks.com. And it's kind of a space where you can find out a little bit about me, but it's sort of more, you can see an overview of a lot of my different practice. So it's like the painting, the books that I have now, the drawing that I kind of make, and it's also kind of available for sale. But yeah, you can also just type in my name to Google and different things will come up as well. So
this has been really fun. Thank you for taking us through this.
Thank you both. It's been great.
Catherine, any final words?
No, I just appreciate that you shared that, like you draw every day, that it's just part of your life. Like some people work out every day, whatever our daily things are, and that it's. I think we just have to actually sit down and do it. Or while we're commuting, if you're sitting on a bus or wherever you're going.
Yeah, but it could be writing. It could be, there's so many kind of. I think I kind of often say to people, try to look for those little things that just really interest you, and then just start with it, and then you never know where it can kind of go. So thankfully for me, drawing is something I'm really interested in, so I can do it every day, easily.
That's so cool. I tried to paint every day. I think it was when I turned 35, I was like, every day I'm going to paint. And I got to like day 6 and I was like, oh crap, I forgot. So maybe, but it was like so much work, to take all the paint out and all the things, but maybe just doing something like that, like drawing, would be easier. Anyway, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And make sure you watch and subscribe and all of those things wherever you're doing all of those things. And we will see you next week, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Arts for the Health of It, a podcast produced by Hearts Need Art, creative support for patients and caregivers, in partnership with the National Organization for Arts and Health. You can help others learn about the healing power of the arts by subscribing, sharing, and reviewing the podcast wherever you listen or watch. The podcast is hosted by Richard Wilmore, co-hosted by Constanza Rader. Our theme song, Songbird, is written and performed by Natalie Lane. Visit heartsneedart.org to learn how you can support our mission to create joy with people facing life-altering health challenges. Join us next week to learn more ways you can create arts for the health of it. The views expressed on this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of Hearts Need Art, their staff, board members, or other affiliates. All content is created for informational purposes only. This podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice or to diagnose and treat any health condition. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health professional with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you heard on this podcast.